Thank you for calling the Rose Creek Golf Shop. The golf course and golf shop are now closed for the season. We want to thank you for continuing to patronize us in 2019 and look forward to seeing you again in 2020. For rates and information, please visit our website at fargogolf.net. Greg McCullough, the golf course may be closed, but we are certainly not done talking about golf. How's things going for you?
Well, we're closed.
Good point.
We're off the clock.
That is, so things are going well.
Oh, we're on the clock. Well, are they going well? They're going great, Matt. How are you?
You know what? Fantastic. You know, like I said, we are still talking golf even though we are closed, and we just recently played some golf in mid-November, for crying out loud.
And it was colder where we were than it was here for 2 of the days.
This is the second opportunity you've given me, that you invited me to go. Who would have ever thought that I would be going down to the southeast in balmy North Carolina, and it would be colder than going up to the North Pacific Northwest at Bandon Dunes? I couldn't believe it.
So who's the black cloud? You or I?
I think it's me.
No, I think it's actually me.
You say that, but I think I bring that on.
How was your trip, Matt?
It was fantastic. It really was. Going into this trip, kind of like, I know you've done this trip, 5 or 6 times now as far as these buddy trips?
Fifth trip.
Okay, so it's my second trip now. Once again, we've gone, right around that third week in November, somewhere in that area, second week in November, I guess. And last year it was up, like I said, in the Pacific Northwest, up, I guess, near Bend, Oregon, up at Bandon Dunes. And that was an amazing experience. Weather was fabulous. The resort was just great. But before I went to Bandon, I did very little research on it. Yes, of course, I've heard other people talk about it. I've heard you talk about it. And I knew that it was going to be a great place. But I did very little research because I wanted to really kind of be a big surprise for me. So same thing once again about Pinehurst. Yes, I've heard about Pinehurst. I've heard about all the majors they've held there, whether it's amateur, professional, etc. And I knew it was going to be fabulous, but I did almost no research, tried not to look at hardly anything as far as on the website, and just went down there kind of with an open canvas. And I was certainly not disappointed. It was quite amazing.
So going in, and I had never been there, so I didn't do a lot of research other than I was constantly looking at the weather because that's what I do. I look at the weather all the time. You can ask my wife at home. Was it what you thought it would be?
Yeah, I guess good question because I really didn't know. There was some surprises. It's way different than Bandon, of course, from both just geographically. It's inland. It's not on the coastline, and so some of the differences you see there. The golf courses themselves are quite different, and even probably the style of play. The greens complexes and even the types of grasses you're playing there are totally different. And so it was really kind of unique in that regards. And so with not going out there and really finding too much about it outside of hearing that number 2 was going to be really tough. And we'll talk about that. Number 2 was really tough. It was kind of, I guess, very much. I guess, some of the things like the Pinehurst Village, that was really kind of unique. I didn't know much about that. I knew that there was obviously tons of tradition and history there. I mean, it's a very old resort. And so it was really, really quite unique in that regard. Like I said, it's amazing at comparing those 2 resorts. I just thought like customer service, the amenities that maybe golfers are looking for, all the way to the conditions of the courses, was just all top notch right there. And so outside of just the weather being a factor, it was amazing.
I would totally agree, and they are 2 different places. Fortunate enough, again, we started going 5 years ago to somewhere. We've been to Bandon 4 times. This was our first excursion away from Bandon. We went to Pinehurst. I thought the golf courses, we played 5 courses. We played number 2, number 4, number 6, number 7, and number 8. So we got kind of a wide variety of golf courses. I thought they were all very good. We'll talk about number 2 as we go through the list. Number 2 is something I had never seen before, and we played it on a different kind of day than probably is normal. But I thought number 2 was really good. I thought 4 was really good. I thought number 8 was actually for me, 7 was my next one. 7 and 8 are pretty close, and then 6 would be my least favorite. Doesn't mean it was a bad golf course at all. It was just, you always end up kind of ranking them. We played the Cradle, a little short 9-hole, which was a blast. They also have a putting green there that's got 18 holes of kind of funky golf that we spent a couple, 3-4 hours on a couple different days, which was a lot of fun. But the experience is really cool. If you're looking for places to go, we just know about Bandon and Pinehurst. It is about golf. So if you're looking for places that are maybe have a little more to do than golf, Pinehurst would have more to do than Bandon. But still, the village of Pinehurst and Pinehurst itself is set up around golf. So you're there to kind of, we talked about this, eat in the morning, go play golf all day long, have supper, have a couple drinks, go to bed, and do the same thing, kind of rinse and repeat as you go through. I thought the golf courses were great. I thought it's a great place to go. Customer service was really good. With our first time there, we didn't necessarily know which courses to play. We let kind of the person that I talked to at Pinehurst take care of that, and they did a great job.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of did like a pros and cons list between like Bandon and Pinehurst, and unfortunately the cons were difficult. I mean, if I start out with Bandon, and if I was going to start out with the cons first of all, probably the negatives, you take a chance on the weather. I went last year. I was blessed. I couldn't imagine for any better weather. I know you guys have had otherwise when you're going to be up on the northwest there and you're going to get that coastal weather. You're probably going to get the winds. You're probably going to get some rain, and that's part of the deal. And I know you guys have had that. I would have never thought, like I said, going to the Carolinas, that was going to be part of the deal. I just thought for sure that I'm going to see 50s and 60s, and it's going to be overall pretty pleasant compared to where I'm leaving. And unfortunately, we caught maybe some weather that wasn't quite up to par there. But
I have never been as cold as I was when we played number 2 ever in my life. Well, never was even close to that cold at Bandon.
It was amazing because we had 12 individuals that went on this trip, and majority of us, I think 10 of the 12 of us probably had caddies for number 2. It's cold when you start out with 12 guys, only 10 finish, and one caddy doesn't finish as well. It was, we started out in the rain, and it was raining really pretty good. I was absolutely soaked before we started, and I hadn't been standing outside that long. And by hole number 1, I know even walking on up there, it was absolutely nuts as far as the water just pouring off of the first green. It looked like absolutely like a waterfall. And so I knew like, oh boy, we're going to have some struggles here. Not only is it going to be difficult enough to play this game as far as soaking wet and try to keep our gear all dry, but nonetheless, we're going to have to battle the course conditions of how wet it was. And we got up on that first green, and just seeing as how dark that turf was, and you could just see all the water just puddling, I knew, oh boy, this is going to be difficult. And I was just thinking, are we going to be able to complete this round? Because I thought for sure that the golf course was going to be unplayable by the whole second or third. And virtually the first 4 or 5 holes we played, you could almost say it was unplayable because the greens were unputtable. It was funny, like I say, you got up there, and I think you were one of the first ones to putt on number 1.
That was a good attempt, wasn't it? That was a really good attempt.
I don't know if you had 25, 30 feet, whatever it was. And like I said,
came back to me. Traveled about 8 feet and came back to me. It was like, and being a sand greens guy, I should know better, right?
I don't think you could have hit that hard enough.
I had the wrong club in my hand.
You did.
I needed like a hybrid, and I would have had to hit it hard.
Honestly, that thing probably went 5 or 6 feet, and you made a pretty good attack at that one. And right away, I was like, oh boy. And we're like, okay, automatic 2 putts rest of the way. And unfortunately, like I said, it probably took 4 or 5 greens at least before, and it never was great. There was often times where we probably have to take our golf ball and move it to a different part of the green where it looked like maybe it has drained off a little bit better. But that was, like I said, and then not only that, but then by hole, 4 or 5, cold front started coming through. And I knew that, like, even before my round, a lot of times with the caddies, they'd like you to try to keep your bags a little light. And so I'd had an extra layer that I threw in my bag. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be walking. I'm probably not going to need this. So I was going to bring that down to the caddy master and check that on in. And the guy's like, well, there is a cold front coming through, and it is going to be much colder by the time you finish. And I'm kind of thinking, yeah, but I'm still pretty layered up. I'm going to be walking. And I was thinking, yeah, I suppose I'll take it just in case. And I brought it. Oh, my goodness. I could have probably needed like 12 more layers, I think, just to stay warm because it must have hit probably, mid-30s, I think, by the time we got through there with the wind chill.
Wind chill was actually in the 20s when we got done.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
And also everybody's soaking wet. And so you take that also in consideration throughout the round. And so, yeah, that was a little rough.
So we got to the halfway house after playing number 8, and both of our caddies are cold. Neither one of them are really dressed for what they're gonna have. And one of them was a younger guy. The other guy was a little bit older, but and they went to the halfway house where it was warm, right, which is great. We were all kind of in there. We got some hot chocolate. We had something to eat. And one of our my caddy, the caddy for us, sent the other caddy into the caddy area, so he jumped on a cart. He went to where the caddies hang out, and he was looking for, I think, a toque and maybe a pair of pants. So we were playing the 9th hole. We had 3 guys that were taking 3 guys taking caddies. We had 2 caddies. One guy was double looping. So we're standing up on number 9, and one of the caddies, the younger guy, wasn't back yet from the caddy shack. So we got our caddy that we had. He's carrying 3 bags, which was fairly comical to begin with. So I'm like, it's okay. We can take it. Nope. He goes, I got it. Our caddy will be back. He just went to get a couple things. No problem at all. We played the 9th hole, which is a par 3, and then we kind of come back towards the caddy shed again, and our caddy's carrying 3 bags still, and it's not very nice outside. I mean, and he's got shorts on.
Shorts on.
Good
windbreaker.
Good move. That was a good move. So we all hit our shots on 10, and we start walking down the fairway, and our other caddy isn't showing up. So our caddy that we have has still got 3 bags, so a pretty long par 4. And I turned to him and I said, is our other caddy coming back? He goes, yeah, I'm sure he is. Okay. So he's carrying his bag through 10 and still no caddy. We teed up on 11, and I see a cart come up, and he's talking to one of the guys is talking to our caddy, and they go away, and the guy comes up to the tee box and hands us our clubs, and I said, is he coming back? He goes, no, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. He's walked 8 holes with us, and he's tired of us. He's not coming back. So our guy's carrying 3 bags. I said, well, let us carry one of them. Or he goes, nope, I got him. He was struggling pretty good because it was cold.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very nice out. And Matt, me and you don't hit it on the same side of the golf course very often. One of us is usually one way, one of us is usually the other. So our caddy was having to trek quite a ways back and forth. And we got to that green, and he's still trying to carry our bags, and he's got 3 of them. They're it's almost like a Snoopy movie. Like he's dragging them along. He's kind of just drudging along. He's not really helping us very much. He's basically just pulling our clubs along. And we got to, I think, 13, and finally they found another caddy, thank God, to come and help our other caddy out. And her name was Rose, and she was phenomenal.
Wasn't she, though?
She was phenomenal.
She was Rosie. She was, I tell you, I've never seen such an optimistic girl, positive, and just, oh, yay, let's go. Maybe that's because she didn't have to endure the pain for the first 12 or 13 holes, but still, she had us doing exercises.
She did. She told us how to keep warm, Matt. Have you ever done that before?
I had never
done that before. She gave me
a
hernia on 13 green, but I was warmer. I might have been sweating because I was in agony, but she showed us how to stay warm. And if anybody wants to know how to do that, probably we need to show you in person, not on a podcast.
Right. No, so that was tough, and thank goodness it was just Tuesday's round that we had to endure that pain and suffering, and it was unfortunate that we were playing number 2 because, we unfortunately it kind of got to be, like we said, it was that bad, it was that nasty out that it was almost like I had a countdown on the number of holes that we had to play left. It was kind of like, okay, well, only 6 more.
You kept
okay,
looking
only
at me.
5 more.
6 more, 5 more, 4 more, 3 more.
And that's nothing. I don't think I've ever had that happen for me before. It was excruciating to kind of go through that.
Craziest green complexes I'd ever been around, even though you've heard about them. Right? Everybody who says that say you can't believe them, how crazy they are. And eventually after you hear that enough, you go, yeah, they can't be that bad. They are unbelievable.
What was your terminology again? It wasn't greens in regulation. It was
Greens visited at
Greens
number 2.
visited it,
right,
too.
Because how many times did we have the ball on the green and then had to pitch it again or putt it again or knock it out of a bunker again? Or how many times did I go from bunker to bunker? A couple, 3.
Yeah, and
Easy to do.
oh yeah, especially with the weather conditions. The bunkers were very, very difficult, but it would really be amazing, like I said, under just normal conditions to see how difficult that would be
So
to
hard.
actually hit it on there, because we were playing it, like I said, with standing water on the greens, so we had a much better chance at least holding some of those, and even that was difficult. But yeah, to have it under normal condition, it is amazing. It's literally, we are right now sitting at a table that's like 24 inches by 24 inches, and I feel that's larger than where some of the holes were cut as far as at Pinehurst too.
There was a couple holes where I asked our caddy for the U.S. Amateur where would they put the hole, and so he kind of showed me a couple spots where they would put the hole. I thought the day we played, they were not easy pins anyway. I don't
Right.
know how you get easy there.
Right.
So there's probably no such thing. But we dropped the ball about 1 foot left of a hole and just dropped it waist high, and I just dropped it on the green. And I had 30 yards back up. I rolled off the green, and I had 30 yards back up to where the flag was.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
amazing, and they're all like that. I mean, they're all just really kind of funky. I don't know how I can explain it.
No, and the one thing too that's a little different for the people maybe have not played down there or play on that type of a golf course. For us around here, we'd almost call those like push-up greens, but on
Right.
steroids. It's like an upside-down saucer with a lot of fingers, and they say like putter's your friend around there because there's a lot of options. I mean, I think around there, you've got very, very tight Bermuda conditions around the greens. And so putting is a very viable option there. You could be, 15, 20 yards possibly off the green. And putting would be a very, probably maybe your best option a lot of times. But, you could also, like I say, pitch it if you're comfortable with that type of a lie. But so that was kind of, unique as well. Bannon's got a little bit of that. You could probably even take some putts from Bannon even further on out. But the greens complexes, there's much bigger greens. You could also probably have like a 40-yard putt at Banton.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's different. But it's like when I was kind of going through Bannon, like I said, cons, I guess one you could say is a con only is just walking only at Bannon, which I really enjoy a lot. At Pinehurst, you can take carts on certain courses. Different greens, like I said, at Bannon, you had fescue greens, which was something I'd never played on before. That was unique, and I thought was very good. Some people may or may not like that. But as far as, like you'd already mentioned, as far as at Bannon, like Pinehurst, it's really all about the golf. Although Pinehurst is a little different, I guess, because Pinehurst, that resort, I think there's a lot of people that may even stay at Pinehurst that may not golf.
Probably right.
With all the other things they've got, whether it's a spa, they had cricket, they had lawn bowling, croquet. I don't know what all the different terms are there. They had all kinds of things going on. I tell you what, those guys look like they were professionals, all decked out in their white jumpsuits, and
don't jump on there without white on.
they weren't very happy.
They were not very happy
when I was hitting pitch shots off of their surface and into the
as
putting
long
green.
as you had white on, you were okay.
And so that's a little bit different as far as Pinehurst, where you don't see that abandoned. Bandon, like I said, the scenery is just totally different. Being coastal, there's no residential homes around the golf course. Pinehurst, of course, it's right within the Pinehurst Village and all kinds of residential homes around that. Accommodations are a little different, but yet amazing wherever you stayed. They've both got the similarities as far as having some great par 3 opportunities you can play, the large putting surfaces. So like I say, they're very, very similar. A lot of great places to get together as far as an evening with a bunch of guys. And like I say, just both amazing places for buddy trips. And so I think if a person was, looking to get away, I think either way you go there, it's going to be a home run.
From here, Pinehurst was a little easier to get to. It was from here to Minneapolis to Raleigh, and it's an hour and 15 minutes on a bus to get to Pinehurst.
Right.
Bandon, at Pinehurst, we actually played the day we left because we didn't leave till 5 p.m. So we actually would have played 18 holes, but it was so cold we got 9 in.
Right.
So you can do that. Bandon is a couple of stops and a 2.5 hour bus ride. So it's a little harder to get to in that respect for us anyway.
Right. I went through Golf Week had a top 200 resort courses that they had ranked, and I know several other magazines will do something similar. These were, like I say, all resort courses. And what's cool about both of these places is that not only is there a lot of golf options there, but it's some of the best golf you're going to play as far as in the nation. I mean, Golf Week, this was probably something they put out back I think in February or March of 2019 now. So I don't think Pinehurst 4 was ranked at this time within there. But that being said, at Bandon, they had number 2 was Pack Dunes, number 4 was Old Mac, number 6 was Bandon Dunes, number 9 was Bandon Trails. So all 4 of those are in the top 10 that were at Bandon Dunes, the resort. At Pinehurst, you had Pinehurst number 2, which is number 3 in the nation. You had Pinehurst number 8, which was 69th in the nation, and you had Pinehurst number 7, which was 192nd in the nation. Plus, like I said, Pinehurst 4 now with the remake, I definitely know would have been in the top 100, I'm sure, and maybe much, much even higher. But then also, like I say, if you were to go to the Pinehurst area within just minutes, you've got Mid Pines and Pine Needles, which is 29th and 37th, and Tobacco Road, which they had at 59th. So, I mean, at both places, that's what's so cool is you're not limited to one golf course or 2 golf courses. You've got many options that are in your top 100. So if you're looking at trying a goal of knocking off some courses in your bucket list, saying I want to play 3, 4, 5 golf courses in top 100 in the nation, you can go to one resort and do that.
Well, and I thought both facilities do a good job. And the golf courses can be difficult, but they're not brutal, and you don't lose a lot of golf balls. I mean, even for us, we didn't really lose. I think I physically lost 2 golf balls in 5.5 days.
Right.
And one of them was in the water. And I think most of us were, somewhat like that. There's very little water there. There's some water there. But I think on the 5 courses we played, there's probably 5 holes total, maybe not even 5, 4 holes that actually had water on the hole that you had to really worry about knocking it in. So even though these golf courses are really good, they are very playable in my opinion for everybody to go out and play. Number 2 would be obviously the hardest, and it's only because the green complexes are just so unlike anything we've ever seen before. That's what made it hard. But I thought the golf courses were very playable. You have a lot of different tee options you can play. And one of the things that we talked about on our trip going out there was we don't care where anybody plays from. We want you to play at a yardage where you feel comfortable. And we actually played every golf course outside of number 2. We played every golf course at between 6150 and 6350, I think.
Right.
Which if you're familiar with Edgewood, that's kind of between the whites and the blue tees. So it wasn't super long. We played the front 9 at number 2 because one of our players wanted to play as far back as we could, and those were not the U.S. Open tees. I think we were playing it at, if we'd have played it all, it would have been about 7,000 yards, which was plenty. We ended up playing 9 holes from those tees. And then we decided, you know what, let's move up one more tee because it was just too hard for us. I think even on a nice day, I think you would get to the point where it wouldn't have been any fun. And again, one of the things I like about both places is they're both playable. They're not, as long as you pick the right tee box, I think you'll have a lot of fun there.
Right. Yep. No, I don't disagree at all. And I think part of it, too, just as cold as it was, I think we were hitting it much shorter probably than normal anyhow. And so I think, playing a little bit more friendly was definitely in our best interest. But the other thing about Pinehurst was so cool is, I already talked about, it's old. We stayed at what they call the Holly Inn, which was very easy for me to remember being from Holly, Minnesota. So this was Holly, but very cool, built 1895, I think. And so that was a really neat place, beautiful little lounge/restaurant down lower level. They had the Pinehurst Brewery there, which was a must-see. I think that was fantastic. The Ryder Cup Lounge over at the Carolina. Had a chance to walk through the hallways of the Carolina even a little bit and see some of the history and some of the artifacts they've got, throughout there. Not to mention in the clubhouse itself, as far as at the main clubhouse. It's like a museum in itself.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and to see all the stuff they've got there. I mean, from the different, like I said, I think they've held just about every major championship, at Pinehurst that you can think of, from the AM all the way up to the professional level, both men's and women's. And so to see all of a collection of the history there that they've put on site was really pretty cool. And then, getting your picture with, Payne Stewart as far as in his famous pose, as far as him winning the 99 Open there, draining that putt on 18, and even having the little statue of the putter boy, which is really pretty cool. So, there was a lot of neat things going on there. It was fun just taking that all in and getting some pictures with that. And so that was something that's a little different than you'd see at Bandon.
So I think if you're going to take a buddy's trip and you pick a place that you're going to go, and we've picked a couple, the places that we've been are not necessarily your 100% straightforward golf-wise. Pinehurst, I wish I would have practiced putting on my carpet at home before we would have left with different levels, because it would have helped me a lot. Even, you did a great job of pitching and chipping. Chris Croach went with us. You guys did a great job of around the greens. I normally am a reasonably good pitcher of the golf ball. I was really not very good there. So I would have practiced that. Same with Bandon. If you're going to somewhere, especially if you're going at a time, well, it doesn't matter when you're going, kind of pick and choose maybe a golf shot or two that you're going to have to play there that might be different than you're used to. It's not, at Pinehurst, there was a lot of putting that you really should have done around the greens. The caddies mentioned to me a couple times when we had them, we just did them on 2 and 4, that we like to put the ball up in the air. And I didn't think I was a lot like that. But after he said that, you looked around and everybody was hitting even like a 50 degree is a lot of loft for there.
Yeah, no, I don't I don't disagree. And I'm one that usually likes to put the ball up in the air. For me to putt, it's got to be a pretty good option, because my putting is not a strong suit right now. But I had a ton of fun like pitching around the practice area and stuff like that. But boy, when we got to like 2 and a couple other courses there, I tell you what, putter was in my hand all the time around the greens there. And the one thing I didn't try at all, which I think would be very effective too, is possibly even hybrid or fairway wood as well, for maybe a person that maybe is not even feeling comfortable with a putter, or those could probably be great options as well. And that's what's so cool, I think, is, for anybody when they're looking at their short game, and even around here, is looking that, there's probably options. There might be an option 1, an option 2, an option 3, and I think probably choosing the one that maybe you feel most confident and comfortable in maybe is a way to go. And so I guess if you're a really, really horrendous putter, or you can't chip worth beans, then maybe pitching is the best option, but that doesn't seem like it usually goes in that sequence.
No, and on 2 and 4, there basically is no rough.
Right.
I understand we were playing on Dormant, Bermuda, but if you look around there and talking to the caddies, especially on 2, there is no rough there. It's fairway, or it's sand, or it's whiskey grass or something like that. So there's not a lot of long grass to hit out of there.
I think, I don't know what pine needles and mid pine, some of those are like, but I think we did actually play pine needles in the simulator before we took off, and I found that to be much easier.
Much easier on the simulator.
Oh, no. So anyway, I appreciate you asking me on that trip once again.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. It was a ton of fun. Just like Bandon, it's going to always be memorable, despite even the weather on 2. That's even going to make it that much more memorable, because I will never forget that day. And it was cool just to take some moments to kind of take a look around and see, and even just standing on 18T and walking up 18. And it's kind of funny. We were out there, I think maybe the day before on Monday. It was a beautiful day, probably mid-60s, or low 60s, somewhere in that area. And we were sitting out on the porch, and we're watching groups come in on 18, and if they hit a bad shot, you might hear a few people maybe heckle them or give them a little boo. Yep. Or if they hit a good one, you're hearing a few golf claps and whatever else like that. When we came up on 18, there was no golf claps, but there was no boos. There was no one.
No, there was hardly anybody employee-wise on the facility when we were playing.
Oh, it was crazy.
It does. We've talked about this before. It is kind of cool to go to a place where the tour has played and play around the golf and go, oh my goodness, how good do you have to be to shoot 9 under par there?
Yeah.
9 under par there at the U.S. Open. I can't imagine.
I can't remember if you were standing with me or Chris Croach, and we're even looking at from an amateur standpoint. I think it was Danny Lee when he had won the amateur there. And I think it was in his 36-hole championship match. The match had only went maybe I don't know if it went 30 holes even. And he was I could be way off on this. Someone will have to fact check me, but he could have been close to 12 under or something on his round.
That's crazy.
Through that. And I'm going, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, so anyhow, it was fabulous.
And
but-
both places do a really good job if you want to go there, helping you with your accommodations if you want to go through them. The person that we talked to, right, they basically, they'll step through the whole deal for you. They'll set you up. And when we got there, they knew exactly who we were, where we were playing, when we needed to be places. So both places, both Bannon and Pinehurst, in my opinion, do a great job on that end of it. We never really had to worry about, what we got to do on a certain day. If we're going here, will they know? If they go here, they know. They pretty much had it
Right.
expecting us kind of from the word go. Even to the person who was taking us back to Raleigh in the bus the day before, we ran into her and we were asking if we could leave a little early the day before, if that worked out. And she goes, yeah, you guys are leaving at 2 o'clock, right? I said, well, yeah, how did you know that? Well, I'm driving you. So, all those little things are cool. The Southern hospitality was cool. I know you probably get told honey, sweetie all the time anyway, but the rest of us got called sweetie and honey a lot, which we're not really used to.
Yeah, I get honey and sweetie, only it's followed by do this, do that. But no, I'm just kidding, honey. If there was one thing going Pinehurst, that you'd say it's a must do, what would it be for you?
Well, I mean, if you're going to go to Pinehurst, you got to play number 2 if it's about golf. Other than that, I mean, I think it's all good. You should play. I mean, if you're going to a facility like that, you should do everything, in my opinion,
Right.
golf-wise.
See, for me, I thought it would be to order the mile-high key lime pie.
Oh, of course. Wow, see, you were
Holy moly, that thing was huge.
You were at the Ryder Cup Lounge, soaking it up with all your highfalutin friends that night.
Yeah,
We
me
were
and
back in-
Chambly.
we were back in the hotel, slumming it with about a 7-foot-high chocolate brownie sundae that night.
I think it was funny because they had, I think it was like top 100 teachers or something like that, summit or something going on like that, I think at Pinehurst while we were there. I didn't see him. I don't know if you did or not.
Yeah, I said hello to George Gankus.
Okay.
And I actually talked to Bradley Chambly for about 5 minutes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
He was showing up, dropping off his car at the valet, and he was talking to a couple other people, and the person who was helping do clubs and stuff wasn't right there. So he was just standing there, and of course the groupie that I am, or the tourist that I am, I went up and said hi, and he was very cordial. They were doing a podcast from Pinehurst because the top 100 was there. So
You didn't get invited.
I was 101.
No, I mean as part of the podcast.
No, I was 101. But Matt, congratulations! You're the Dakota chapter teacher of the year, so you'll probably be going there next year. You'll be doing a seminar there.
I'm sure my invite's in the mail.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to
Yeah, I mean,
you get kind of awestruck, or at least I do a little bit, with those. Everybody who's listening to this podcast probably knows who Brandel Chambly is on the
Right.
Golf Channel. He was very cordial enough, and he sat there and he talked a little bit. He was there again for about 5 minutes.
It was cool. I mean, when we were sitting at the Holly Inn, Mike Bender came down and sat down there. Mike's well-known teacher. I heard that Michael Breed was there as well. And so, yeah, it was kind of neat. Unfortunately, I didn't run into any of those individuals. Otherwise, I would have probably grabbed them and said, hey, please help me. But it was awesome. So anyway, yeah, the mile-high key lime pie is a must.
I heard it was good. I've seen pictures of it.
Oh, my gosh. And the cheesecake. Oh, my goodness. Anyhow, I had plenty to eat. I gained 12 pounds, I think, and still walked
every
50
course.
miles.
You had like 20,000 steps a day.
I did. Didn't help at all. Like I said, I was packing on way too many calories during that trip. But anyhow. Well, anyway, so we played a course that's hosted majors.
Yes.
We got another big thing coming on up. We talked a little bit on our last podcast as far as our President's Cup predictions. And, I don't think.
Can I start my rant now, or go ahead?
I think, I can't remember. I think I actually said Tiger would pick himself.
Boo.
I know. Patrick Reed, I believe I picked.
I like that one.
I think I also said Gary Woodland.
Good one.
But the fourth one I was hoping with. I wasn't surprised by him picking Tony Finau because of where Tony fell as far as in the points.
I'm okay with that one.
Yep. I kind of was thinking, and it was more of just from my heart thinking, not that I'm a huge Kevin Na fan, but I was hoping
I think
Kevin
that would
Na,
have been a good one.
And so that didn't happen. Breaking news as of today, Brooks Koepka is out. So Tiger named his replacement.
That means we get a young guy who's playing great right now, Is that true, Matt?
No.
Here comes my rant.
No.
Who did we get? We
You
got
know-
a guy who hasn't played since August 22nd.
A huge
August 22nd.
A huge surprise here. A young lad by the name of Ricky Fowler.
Hasn't played since August 22nd. You have a young guy on. You have one of the best stories in golf with a guy winning 2 golf tournaments in a row, who within the last 3 years has had the yips and couldn't even hardly play golf. What an awesome pick that would have been, but no. We got to pick the 32, 35-year-old guy who's going to go there, and he hasn't played since August 22nd.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think I'm sure it's a popular choice. I'm sure the fans are
With who?
loving it. Well, all the Ricky Fowler
okay.
fans out there. But no, I think that would have been a cool story. Brendan Todd, 2 wins in a row, playing this week now. Just think if he won 3 in a row. Holy moly.
Maybe
How do you
Tiger
not
should
take
get
him?
hurt and
Yeah,
then pick him.
right. Well, I still think that I wish that when Tiger was naming those 4, I'm sure Brooks didn't know where he was at. I just wish that Tiger would have went with 4 picks, held off himself, and if Brooks can't play, then he steps on in rather than vice versa.
That would have been better, in my opinion.
I think so. It's not in the long run. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I just think that USA's got so much power, and I don't think the internationals do.
What if they lose now? What if they go in there and they lose?
Oof.
You got 3 or 4 guys there that have not played very much golf.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit earlier. I mean, it's this year they made a slight rules change, which makes it maybe a little bit easier for the international team to compete, and that is, in the past, the players have had to play at least 2 events before the singles events. They've been mandatory to play 3 events, 3 competitions, from between the 4-ball foursomes, and then everybody has to play the singles. This year, they only have to play in 1 competition before the singles, so you could probably hide a player or 2 a little bit more than you could in the past, which I think is what happens with the Ryder Cup, and I think part of the success why the Europeans have been so strong. I think in depth-wise overall, I think USA has been stronger, but so maybe that might help a little bit, but I don't know. I look at the names of the international, not a lot of names that are scaring me, but I mean, they do have, they got Matsuyama, they got Adam Scott, Louis Oosthuizen, Mark Leishman, Abraham Anser, Lee, C.T. Pan, Cameron Smith, Jason Day, Joachim Neiman, Adam Hodwin, Sung Ye In. Not a lot of names that jump off the page. They're like, ooh, but then again, maybe they're saying the same thing about our lineup. So,
With this competition, it would be nice to get some people who have played good this year, more recently than when. I don't know when.
right.
And won actually full field tour events, not 60-player tour events.
Right.
Get some guys in there that I understand that those players over a 2-year period maybe have played better. I think we need. How about the guy who's playing very well right now?
Well, I think that would be awesome. I mean, you even got, like I said, Kevin Na. Kevin Kisner's another one I think that would have been a very good one.
He gets getting snubbed.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if I wouldn't have taken Jordan before Ricky.
I would have liked that just to see his alternate shot partner have to tramps all over the woods to try to find his golf ball.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, that's coming up. It seems like it's so late this year, and it is later, I think, but, it doesn't start until the week of December 9th through the 15th. It is in Australia this year at the Royal Melbourne Club. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be closer than I think, but I just think the USA is going to come out ahead. So I predict 18-12.
Is it 30 points?
30 points.
30 points?
30
18
points.
to 12?
Yeah.
You're probably not far off, but I would like to see a little Karma and Tiger maybe can't play or plays like he has in these events before, which is really not very good.
Right.
And
right.
then maybe, I hate to wish ill will, but as a fan, I think those guys that played better in the last 6 months deserve a little more credit than maybe somebody who's played well a year ago.
So, you only have to play 1 match before the singles. So it's a little different in the Ryder Cup. You've got Thursday, you've got 5 foursomes or 4-ball matches. On Friday, you have 5 foursome or 4-ball matches. Saturday, you have an AM and a PM. there are 4 foursome or 4-ball matches. So those would, obviously change, foursomes in the morning, 4-ball in the afternoon, or vice versa. Same thing with Thursday and Friday. And then the 12 singles matches. So with Tiger being the playing captain, what do you think? How many matches do you think he plays?
Does he play one a day?
Well,
he's such a day-to-day person now.
Right.
I think it would be hard for him to. How do you pick yourself to play the night before when you don't know what you're going to feel like the next day? At least that's what he's been saying to everybody.
Right.
I don't know what I feel. I don't know how I'm going to feel until I get up.
I'm just wondering, does he play like Thursday, maybe Friday, and then play the singles, take Saturday off? That's a long day. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
When is that? December?
December, yep. December.
Maybe me and you can work out of that. We can sneak in there and be a captain's pick.
Yeah.
We can be the stewardess's pick, Matt.
I'll try to hold those dates open. There's still some other golf going on. I know they got the RSM Classic this week, and Tom Hoagie is playing. That's in Georgia at Sea Island Resort. Tom, I think, even though he hasn't played well, I think his last 3 events, missing the cut in all 3, the last 3 starts, I believe.
I think the reshuffle is after this week.
Is that right?
Yep. So the tour, the way the tour does it is, even though the guys have their tour card, if you're not in the top 125, you're always a number from 125 to 156. And if you play better, the better you play. And Tom finished second really early, so his number got way up there. But that number hasn't caught up to him yet until the reshuffle happens. So he's still kind of doing his schedule based on last year, which, he's still trying to get into events basically. So after the reshuffle, I think he'll start to get into more events, maybe invitationals, things like that for a while. And I don't know if they probably have one more reshuffle. Not 100% sure about that. So that's kind of how they do that. They're always trying to get, players a chance to play between 12 and 14 events, 15 events if they're not a fully exempt player, and they do that by that reshuffle. If you're not playing good, if you've played all the fall events and you've missed the cut in every event, you start going back. Your number gets a lot higher.
Okay. I think Tom going into this week was FedEx ranking of 21, had 315 points.
Still needs some points to keep his card, I think, based on last year. Last year, I think it was about 380 points. So he still needs, obviously 60 points in 9 months. Doesn't seem like a lot, but as we've seen, it doesn't take very long once you start missing cuts. The game's hard.
Well, he was born in North Carolina, so not too far from Georgia. Maybe this going back kind of home.
There you go.
Maybe this will be a good wrap up for the year for him, and he can have a good finish this week. That'd be fun to see. And a huge tournament this week for the women, CME tournament going on, the Tour Championship in Naples, Florida at the Tiburon Golf Club. And Amy Olson is playing. She is ranked at 54th right now, CME ranking. She's had a pretty fair year with 3 top 10s overall this year. She'll tell you what, she was knocking on the door of a Solheim Cup opportunity there, and maybe I'm obviously a little biased, but I thought that she was definitely worthy of it, of seeing the team that was selected. And it had been kind of fun once again, as we talked about, going with the young player that has probably got I
think she's improved every single year.
Yeah.
And I believe this is a no-cut, everybody gets a check kind of tournament,
right.
And those are kind of what you're after.
No, that's awesome. So hopefully she'll do real well also. And so, it's been pretty exciting. And we've got Tiger's event coming on up as well. That's kind of a star-studded field. I really thought, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I really thought that when Brooke said I'm out, that should have been like the 18-hole qualifier for, or I guess it's 72 holes, I think. 72-hole qualifier for the last spot of the President's Cup.
That'd have been good.
Okay, boys, here you go. Tee it up.
I'm sure Ricky would have made it.
Low man, you're on in. Let's go. And so, but unfortunately, that's not the case. But other than that, what else you got going on the next month or so?
Not much. We're kind of on we took our trip. Now we're kind of downtime. We're doing some planning. We were together today for most of the morning doing some planning for next year. I think next time when we get together in our podcast, we'll see if Chris Croach can't come back, and we'll talk a little bit about instruction, a little bit about what he saw on our trip. how players could maybe get better in different kind of situations. And also, next year we have a new handicap formula,
Yeah.
new handicap system, so we can talk about that. That's kind of something that when we don't get to play all year round, it kind of hits us. Kind of like, last year we had the rules change, and then now this upcoming year we're going to have the handicap change. So we'll talk about that and see if that has any bearing on maybe people's handicaps, or what changes, how does it change. I think a couple of the changes they're making are great.
I think, I was watching Croce. I think after playing with me in 2, I think after about the third hole, he was closing his eyes when I was hitting it. So I don't know if he saw a whole lot there. He can
You're
help me
all right.
with.
He hit it crooked too, man.
Yeah, his crooked's different than my crooked.
Well, crooked is crooked, man. Crooked is crooked.
Oh, no, that's fantastic. Well, once again, it was a great trip, ton of fun. I hope those that might be listening, I hope that maybe that's something that they could throw on their bucket list and organize a trip like that. I guarantee they will not be disappointed. And so it's a great way to kind of wrap up the 2019 golf season.
It was awesome.
So
It's very awesome. So when we get together again, we'll try to get Chris Croce to be here. We'll talk to our Dakota chapter teacher of the year. That would be you, and see what kind of tips we can do in the wintertime, and we'll talk about the new handicap system.
very good.
Great job, Matt.
Thanks again.
See you next time.
All right.